Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. A man sits at a blackjack table in a tuxedo, laughing with the dealer, making small talk, barely even looking at the cards in front of him. A bride sits beside him. Behind him stands his best man with one hand in his pocket. Around them, friends crowd the table, smiling, drinking, celebrating what looks like a wedding night inside one of the most famous casinos in America. But after a few hours, the mood around the table starts to change. First, one pit boss appears, then another, then security, then more security. By the fourth hour, plainclothes officers are circling the game, and one of them has a gun under his jacket. Every eye in the room is locked on the groom, because none of this makes sense. The man at the table doesn't play like a professional gambler. He doesn't stare at the cards. He doesn't look focused. He doesn't act like someone trying to beat the casino. At one point, he makes plays so strange they should have destroyed him. And yet, somehow, hand after hand, his stack keeps growing. The casino knows something is wrong. They just can't figure out what it is. He isn't counting cards the way counters are supposed to. He isn't giving off any of the usual signs. And if he is cheating, where's the device? Where's the trick? Where's the evidence? What they don't know is that the real brain of the operation isn't sitting at the table. It's hidden on a man standing right behind him. A custom-built computer, small enough to conceal under formal clothes, is tracking every card, calculating every move, and sending electrical signals through wires taped to the player's body. Hit, stand, split, double. Every decision arrives like a secret command, and the man wearing the tuxedo doesn't need to think. He just needs to obey. By the time Caesars realizes they may be watching something completely unprecedented, it's already too late. The wedding party walks out of the casino with thousands of dollars. No one gets arrested, no one gets charged, and the law has no way to stop them. Because, for a brief moment in Las Vegas history, this wasn't illegal. This is the story of Doug, a rock star's manager by day, a blackjack obsessive by night, and the man who decided that if casinos could use mathematics, surveillance, and psychology to take money from players, then he would use mathematics, technology, and deception to take it right back. And for 4 years, he did. The book. His name was Doug. During the day, he managed one of America's most famous rock stars. His world was contracts, tour schedules, hotel bookings, and the endless logistics that keep a celebrity career moving. But when the workday ended, Doug stepped into a completely different world, one built around a deck of cards. At night, Doug was a blackjack card counter. It started in 1975 with a book, Beat the Dealer, by Edward O. Thorpe. Published in 1962, over 700,000 copies sold. A New York Times bestseller, the book that changed gambling forever. Thorpe was an MIT professor, a mathematician. He'd used an IBM 704 mainframe, a computer the size of a room, to run millions of simulated blackjack hands, hand after hand, millions of them, testing every possible scenario. And he'd proven something no one had proven before. Blackjack could be beaten. Not with luck, not with intuition, with pure mathematics. The principle was simple. Every deck starts neutral. As cards are dealt, the composition changes. When more low cards leave the deck, what remains is rich in tens and aces. This favors the player. When more high cards leave, what remains favors the house. The reason is mechanical. A player chooses when to hit or stand. A dealer cannot. House rules force the dealer to hit until reaching 17. A deck full of tens means more dealer busts. A deck full of low cards means the dealer completes more hands. Thorpe developed a system to track this, the high-low count. Low cards, 2s through 6s, count as +1. High cards, 10s through aces, count as -1. 7s, 8s, 9s are neutral, 0. Watch every card that hits the table. Keep a running count. When the count goes positive, the remaining deck favors the player. bet big. When it goes negative, bet small. Over thousands of hands, the math wins. Doug memorized the system, practiced at home for weeks, decided to test it. His first attempt came during an 8-hour layover in the Bahamas. The cards came fast, too fast. He lost count. He lost the count, lost his money, felt the pit bosses watching. By the end of the night, something clicked. He could track 4 decks without losing his place. He started grinding out profit. The comp. Doug had a friend named Ron, a high roller, craps player. Casinos loved Ron. They flew him to Vegas, free rooms at the best hotels, free meals at the finest restaurants, free airfare, first class, the full VIP treatment. The reason was simple. High rollers compete heavily. Casinos give away thousands in comps to earn millions in losses. The math always favors the house. Craps players lose big. The house edge is fixed. Over time, the casino always wins. Doug tagged along as Ron's guest. One trip, 20 minutes before their flight home, Doug sat down at a blackjack table. Just to pass the time, started with $600, applied the count. He walked away with $2,800. At the cage, a pit boss approached him, handed him a business card. "We like your action. Come back anytime. I suggest you establish a credit line so you won't have to carry cash." Doug thought it was generous. 3 weeks later, he returned. $5,000 credit line, a limousine to the airport, the true high roller treatment. He noticed something immediately. The pit bosses watched his bets, tracked his wins, tracked his losses. Every number went into a ledger, every pattern analyzed. Doug realized the game within the game. If he could sneak chips off the table, slip them into his pocket when no one was looking, he could appear to be losing. The comps would keep coming. The invitations would keep arriving. He learned fast. Card counting was only 10% of the game. The other 90% was the act. Casinos watch for 2 tells: large bet variations, intense concentration on the cards. Both signal a counter. Doug developed camouflage. He made passes at cocktail waitresses, chatted with pit bosses about sports, acted drunk, pretended to miscalculate his bets, the whole time tracking every card on the table. For 5 years, he averaged 1 week per month at the same casino, compiled a complete library on blackjack, every book, every academic paper, every mathematical analysis ever published. Then, he bought a Radio Shack TRS-80 computer. He taught himself to program, built a blackjack simulator, 500,000 hands per hour. He'd set it running before bed, wake up to results, test different counting systems, adjust the values, move the numbers around. He developed his own system, more powerful than Thorpe's original, more powerful than anything publicly available. Then came the Hilton ban. The edge. Doug went home, sat with the problem, turned it over in his mind. A casino reporting $80 million in annual profits had just banned him for being too skilled, for playing by their rules and winning. They didn't stop bad players. They didn't warn tourists making terrible decisions. Split tens against a dealer 6? Go ahead. Double on a hard 12? Be our guest. Bet your mortgage on a hunch? The house will take your money with a smile. But one skilled player who might win? Thrown out. The hypocrisy was clear. Casinos were designed to separate people from their money. They pumped pure oxygen into the rooms to keep players awake, removed all clocks and windows, offered free drinks to cloud judgment, built every advantage into the house. But when someone found a way to reverse the edge, legally, they changed the rules. Doug decided to go for the throat. The best human card counter could squeeze out 2.5% against the house. Maybe, under perfect conditions, with no mistakes, no distractions, no heat from security. Doug wanted more. His Radio Shack computer could do something no human could. It didn't just count cards. It played perfect blackjack. Every decision optimized. Hit, stand, split, double, insurance, surrender. The exact mathematical advantage calculated for every possible situation, every possible deck composition. The edge? Up to 7% over the house. 3 times better than the best human counter. The problem? His computer filled a desk. Doug contacted a neighbor. The neighbor worked with the head of computer science research at a local university, a man named Mark. Doug laid out the challenge. Take the entire program, shrink it, fit it into something small enough to hide on a human body, smuggle it into a casino, interact with it at the blackjack table, play perfect blackjack, without anyone knowing. Mark looked at the specifications, looked at the available technology, ran the numbers. It could be done. The project took 2 years. Cost $50,000. They named the computer Fred. The machine. Fred had 3 components. First, input. Doug designed a hexamal force switch, a custom keypad hidden inside a pocket, operated by fingertip, fast enough to input the value of every card as it came off the deck. The speed was critical. Miss one card, and the entire calculation becomes worthless. Second, processing. The computer itself. Every card stored in memory. Every decision calculated in microseconds. Not just counting, full strategic analysis. The exact mathematical advantage of hitting versus standing, splitting versus not splitting, taking insurance versus declining. Every variable accounted for. Third, output. 2 electrodes called nerve stimulators, taped to the skin, delivering coded electrical shocks, a system of pulses. Short pulse, hit. Long pulse, stand. Too short, split. Too long, double down. The player feels the signal, makes the move. But here was the genius. The system split into 2 pieces, 2 people, 2 roles. The operator wore the computer and the input device, stood behind the table, watched every card, entered every value, never placed a bet, never touched a chip. The player wore only the receiver, 2 thin wires taped to the body, nothing visible, nothing suspicious, no equipment to find. The player didn't need to see the cards, didn't need to count, didn't need to think. He could act drunk, chat with the leader, make eye contact with everyone except the table, play blindfolded if he wanted. The whole time, playing mathematically perfect blackjack. One problem remained. How do you walk into a casino with $10,000 in cash, jump bets from $100 to $2,000, have someone standing directly behind you with his hand in his pocket, and not raise suspicion? The cover. The idea came at 3 a.m. Doug went to bed turning the problem over in his mind, woke up with the solution: a wedding party. He assembled a team. Doug would play the groom. A woman named Kathy would be the bride. A man named Scott, the computer operator, would be the best man, standing directly behind Doug at all times. Normal, expected, invisible. Ron and Linda as guests. Others as bridesmaids and groomsmen. Bodies to fill space, block empty seats, make the table feel like a private celebration. Who would want to interrupt a wedding party? Mark had a separate role, the spotter, blend into the casino, play slot machines, watch for trouble. If security moved, he would leave immediately, contact their attorney. They developed signals. One swipe across the watch face, stop receiving signals, reboot the computer. The word wife dropped into conversation. Heat from security. Start leaving, slowly, naturally. The honeymoon's over. Bust imminent. Walk away. Don't run. Take a cab. Don't go back to the car. They consulted an attorney named Jack. He'd spent weeks researching Nevada law, even spoke directly with the Nevada Gaming Control Board's enforcement division. His conclusion: the computer was not a cheating device. Not yet. Jack had done his homework. He'd found cases where the FBI had investigated similar devices. In every case, the courts ruled the same way. If a device doesn't alter the outcome of the game, it's not cheating. It's just thinking faster. In 1983, there was no Nevada law against using electronic devices in casinos. Card counting was legal. Using a computer to count was legal. Unusual, unprecedented, but legal. Jack gave one instruction: if detained, say nothing. Be polite, give your name, don't explain, don't demonstrate. don't help them understand. The crash. The first wedding attempt was scheduled, team assembled, roles assigned, equipment tested and retested, tuxedos rented, dresses fitted. They ran practice sessions, positioned themselves around mock tables, tested the signals, rehearsed the act, timed the entries and exits. Then, Fred died. During a final test run, the computer crashed. No response, no signal, complete failure. Doug and Mark spent 18 hours tearing the system apart, checking every connection, testing every component, tracing every wire. The hardware was fine. The problem was software. They pulled the program off the memory chips, loaded it onto the home computer, traced the logic line by line, instruction by instruction. A bug in the betting routine, one bad line of code. It had caused a cascading failure, corrupting an entire section of memory. Fred was brain dead. 23 more hours. They rewrote the routine, rebuilt the data structures, found the bug, fixed it, tested again, made sure it could never happen again. The wedding was rescheduled. New date, new rehearsals. One team member couldn't make the new date. She was replaced. Fred lived again. The math. Before every session, Doug ran the formula. He'd programmed it into his home computer, input the variables, get the expected results. Variables: chip denomination, bet spread, number of decks, deck penetration, number of other players at the table, house rules. For Caesar's Palace, 6-deck shoe, 85% penetration, meaning 85% of the cards dealt before reshuffling. 3 other players, $100 base bet, spread of 1 to 20, $100 minimum, $2,000 maximum. Fred's playing efficiency, 1.0, perfect. No human could match it. Expected advantage, 3.38%. Expected win rate, $92 per hour. But gambling involves variance. Even with an edge, short-term losses happen. Doug calculated the standard deviation, the expected swings. After 2 hours of play, 68% chance of being between negative $2,862 and positive $6,470. 95% chance of being between negative $7,529 and positive $11,137. 99% chance of being between negative $12,195 and positive $15,803. He needed a bankroll large enough to survive the worst case, large enough to keep playing through a bad run until the math corrected itself. He brought $13,000. The hit. The wedding party arrived at Caesar's Palace. The casino floor stretched before them, chandeliers overhead, marble underfoot. The constant sound of slot machines paying out, dealers calling cards, chips clicking. Tuxedos, dresses, champagne energy, a bride on one arm, a best man with his hand in his pocket. They found a $100 minimum table, surrounded it, blocked empty seats with bodies and pushed out chairs. Doug sat center position, Kathy to his left. Scott stood directly behind, watching every card that hit the felt. The cards came. Scott's fingers moved inside his pocket. Every card entered into Fred. Calculations ran in microseconds. Electrical pulses traveled through hidden wires to Doug's body. Hit, stand, split, double. Doug played without looking at his cards. He talked to the dealer about the weather, joked with the pit boss about the crowd, asked a waitress for another drink. Chips accumulated. Within 30 minutes, security appeared. A man in white pants and a blue shirt, standing at the edge of the pit, watching, eyes locked on Scott. An hour passed, still there. 2 hours, still there. 4 hours. Doug glanced up, noticed a gun under the man's jacket. Armed security. Not casino staff, real law enforcement. The temperature in the room changed. Doug felt it. Scott felt it. Everyone at the table felt it. Pit bosses multiplied. 2 behind the table. 1 to the left, 1 circling. Plain clothes mixed with uniforms. All watching, all waiting. They couldn't figure it out. Doug made deliberately bad plays. hit on a hard 17, stood on a soft 16, and still won. The math was invisible. The edge was real. The chips kept stacking up. Everything they knew about card counting said this shouldn't be happening. He wasn't concentrating. He wasn't watching the cards. He wasn't varying his bets in any pattern they recognized. One pit boss leaned over Doug's shoulder. "Looks like you're making all the right decisions." 6 hours in, security converging, cameras tracking, the BBC film crew secretly recording everything, could no longer get close enough to shoot. Scott made a decision. He slipped away to the cloakroom, removed Fred from his body, got the computer out of the building. Minutes later, Doug gave the signal. The wedding party cashed out. The count. Back at the safe house, they counted. Chips spread across the table. Cash in stacks, the marker they'd bought back. Total from Caesars, $6,550. Combined with the earlier MGM session, $18,200 for the night. No arrests, no detentions, no questions asked. Doug knew the wedding party couldn't last. Too memorable, too easy to recognize if they returned. He developed a new cover, the Kansas Caper. The logic was simple. Look like you don't belong together. Remove any visible connection between the operator and the player. Ron and Linda would approach a $25 table dressed as Midwest tourists. Loud shirts, nervous energy, counting their chips after every hand. Scott would stand behind Ron, cheering every win, groaning every loss. First-timers in Vegas. Doug and Kathy would arrive separately. Different table, same pit. Rich kids from LA. Designer clothes, casual attitude. Buy-in with $5,000. Play like they didn't care about the outcome. Scott stood behind Ron, no one behind Doug. The signals still reached Doug's body. For 2 more years, they worked the system. Different casinos, different covers, different systems, same computer, same edge, same invisible mathematics grinding out profit, hand after hand. The law. June 1985. The heat became constant. Friday at the Sands, they nearly got caught. Security closed in too fast. They barely made it out. Saturday, plainclothes agents followed them from casino to casino across the Strip. Sunday, Doug walked into the MGM Grand. His photograph was posted at every blackjack table. He turned around, walked out, never went back. The game was over. That same year, Nevada changed the law. A man named Keith Taft had pushed too far. Another computer genius, another blackjack obsessive. He'd been building hidden devices since 1972, starting with a 15-pound computer strapped to his body, operated by his toes. Over the years, his devices got smaller, more sophisticated, more dangerous. His brother was caught wearing a miniature video camera built into a belt buckle. The camera captured the dealer's hole card as it was dealt. The image transmitted wirelessly to a satellite dish mounted on a pickup truck in the casino parking lot. An accomplice in the truck read the card, signaled the optimal play back to the table. It was too much, too brazen, too obvious. May 30th, 1985. Nevada passed an emergency law. Electronic devices in casinos became a felony, up to 10 years in prison. The window had closed. 4 years of legal advantage play over. Doug retired from playing. His face was too well known. His name on every casino blacklist in Nevada. The risk too great. But Fred lived on. Doug built 3 more computers. Smaller, faster, better concealed. Trained new operators, new players, new faces. Kept teams working in jurisdictions where the law hadn't caught up. When the BBC footage finally aired in London, casinos worldwide updated their policies overnight. The casinos called him a cheater. No court ever agreed. Doug exploited a legal window that existed for exactly 4 years, from 1981 to 1985. He spent $50,000 building a computer, assembled a team of civilians, and beat a system designed to be unbeatable. He never served a day in prison, never paid a fine, never faced charges. The money he made was his to keep. Today, using any electronic device in a Nevada casino is a Category B felony. Facial recognition software tracks known advantage players across every property. Algorithms flag unusual betting patterns in real time. Continuous shuffling machines eliminate deck penetration. The eye in the sky never blinks. But somewhere, someone is still running the numbers, still building devices, still looking for the next edge, still asking the same question Doug asked in September 1980. What if the house doesn't always win after all?